What is up, YouTube? Kolst here. We are on the last review here. The last class to review is Warrior, so let's get right into these cards. Like, subscribe, comment, all these things. Okay, so first one is Riot. Zeddy feels personally attacked by this card's text from what I've seen. 2 mana spell. Your minions can't be reduced below 1 health this turn. They each attack a random enemy minion. So this is an interesting one because you kind of need to have multiple. I mean, you can use this just to give a single minion rush if you want, which could be, you know, exactly what you need to just not die. That's like, and that's kind of like the worst case scenario of this card. The best case scenario of this card is you have 5 minions on board that are all low health, and then you just play this, and then you just clear your opponent's board basically for free. So it's never going to be like horrible, and sometimes it's going to be like instantly game winning. So this seems like a very good card in general. You do have to like, you are going to want to typically be on board to essentially combo this, but you can also use it to trade while going face, basically, kind of like when you have the hunter weapon that did a similar type of thing. So very it definitely seems very good. It's a good card. Pretty much good in any type of deck too. It's not like just a card that you can only play in controller or only play in aggro. Probably value it a little bit higher in at least like a mid-range deck more than like an aggro, but because in aggro there's the risk that if you do this you just get whirlwinded anyway. But yeah, it should be pretty good in most decks. Next up we have Crazed Wretch. It's a 2 mana 1/4. Has +2 attack and charge while damaged. So I don't know. It's like a 2 mana 1/4 that you're not really gonna, I guess you could combo it with something like Riot, right? So then this could actually go face afterwards. It's not much better than like a 2 mana 1/4 that just has +2 attack, is that you're not gonna, theoretically, I'm sure in Constructed there's some way to OTK with this, but the charge probably is not gonna matter very much. So it's just a 2 mana 1/4 that has +2 attack when damaged, which usually isn't going to add too much, but I guess it's like there's a real chance that you bump this into a 2/3 and it'll basically trade off with the 2/3, right? And maybe you can get it to stick. It's, you know, it's decent. It's probably better than a 2/3, but not by a lot, I don't think. Moving on to Conqueror's Banner. It's a 2 mana spell. Reveal a card from each player's deck 3 times. Draw any of yours that cost more. So basically, 3 jousts. Draw any of yours that cost more. And if you're not, like, so like the way it works is if it ties, if you both get 5 cost cards or something, then you don't get it because you have to actually win. So on average, you're going to, on an average deck against an average deck, you're going to get a little bit less than 1.5. You're gonna get like 1.2, 1.3 draws, maybe, you know? But it could be 2 mana draw 3, it could be 2 mana draw 0. I don't know. Like, I guess on average, it's like, as I said, like on average, you're drawing less than 1.5 cards for 2 mana, which is not really worth it. So you probably shouldn't draft this super highly. It's worth drafting over garbage though. So like you will take this sometimes, but you shouldn't value it super highly, most likely. Obviously, if you have a bunch of big cards, this is better than hero powering on turn 2, right? If you have a lot of big cards, you might as well try. But it's not going to give you curve plays, very likely, because you can actually, you're only going to get big things most of the time, so it's not really helping your curve, but yeah. Don't value it super highly, but it's okay. Knowing 3 cards of the deck is something, yeah, but also giving your opponent the information on 3 cards of your deck and also showing them what you draw is also a bad thing. So you're giving your opponent actually more information than you're getting. So it's actually worse in that way. You get information, but they get more information because they'll know what you drew. So still pickable, but not very good. Next up is Anima Extractor. 2 mana 1/4. Whenever a friendly minion takes damage, give a random minion in your hand +1/+1. Seems pretty good because friendly minion, I believe, counts itself. So it's probably not going to die in one hit that often. So you get like 2 mana 1/4 +2 1/1 hand buffs probably a lot of the time. That's pretty good value. Obviously you can play this even later on. Play this while you're trading a bunch of stuff, while you play Riot, and get a whole bunch of hand buffs immediately. A lot of value there. Yeah, seems pretty good. One of the better, seems like a very good class 2 drop basically. Next up we have Imbued Axe, 3 mana 2/3 weapon. After hero attacks, I do believe it will. It's whenever, so I think it should go over. It should go off before it dies. After hero attacks, give your damage minions +1/+1. Infuse 3 +2/+2 instead. I don't know, like a 3 mana 2/3 weapon is already kind of okay, right? You probably just play it a lot of times on curve, even without the infuse. And the damage minion buffs is nice, but you don't need it. I guess like if you and your opponent both just play a 2/3, it would be kind of a standard situation. Then you get to bump your 2/3 into theirs, and then you just play this, kill off their minion. Your guy goes up to a 3/2, so it doesn't die to a ping anymore. Even in just a situation, rather basic situation like that, it's already really good. And obviously later on, if you draw it a little later especially, you can try to infuse it and then get just way more value. Yeah, it's basically like a weapon version of Rokara, basically. And they can't just kill the Rokara will just die always, right? Pretty much. But this can't be killed unless they have weapon removal. So yeah, it's just, even if this gets weapon removed, if you got a good buff out of it, it's already done its job, right? And you get to do it 3 more. You get to do it potentially 2 more times if it doesn't. So yeah, it's just, this is like just a crazy, crazy snowball card, basically. It's kind of unreasonable, actually. Seems disgusting. Moving on then. So what we have here is the last Suspicious card we get to review here. Suspicious Pirate. 3 mana 3/4, discover a weapon. If your opponent guesses your choice, they get a copy. Pretty nice that if you discover this weapon, even if your opponent guesses the copy, you get to like potentially trade off things and infuse before they do. Kind of nice, actually. Yeah, it's like the same, obviously, if you've missed the other reviews, basically, your opponent gets to discover at the start of their turn. So one downside of these is that you won't want to play the weapon immediately or else they will know what it is. So it makes their guess very easy. You don't want to give, you especially wouldn't want to give non-weapon classes weapons. That seems actually particularly bad. Compared to the mage one, where it's like you might actually be happy to give a spell with your opponent getting a copy because you might want the spell more. If anything, it's the opposite for this. Giving your opponent a weapon when they don't have access to a weapon and you have access to other weapons actually seems very bad. So that seems a little risky. But having said that, this is a 3 mana 3/4, which is probably better. And you can just, you know, try to pick one that's hard to guess, and then it's upside for you. So overall, not too bad. But a little bit, I think it is a little bit riskier than the other ones. But yeah, you can just pick a terrible weapon, so you don't have to worry about the downside there, hopefully. Next card we have here is Burden of Pride. 4 mana epic spell. Summon 3 1/3 jailers with taunt, so basically 3 Voidwalkers. But if you have 20 or less health, give them +1/+1. A lot of 5 Pepe stars in the chat. Yeah, this is just like extremely good. Even at its base form, it's not bad, but also falling below 20 health is not hard. Even if your opponent doesn't hate you, you can just play weapons and get yourself below 20 pretty darn easily. 20 is a lot easier than 15. Most of these cards are 15 health. 20 is a lot easier to get to as well. It's a lot less risky to be below 20 compared to 15 as well. And when you get 3 2/4 taunts for 4 mana, it's absolutely insane. Back in my day, 3 2/4 taunts cost 9 mana. But now it's only 4. Yeah, it's just an absurd amount of stats. It's almost as many stats, not quite, but it's almost as many stats as Immortalizing Stone. It's actually crazy. It's just a lot of stats. Pretty much an auto pick card here. Because again, like even in an aggro deck, even if you've been on board all game, you can knock yourself down below 20 with weapons. So it's insane. And sometimes, yeah, you'll just be happy to just play Voidwalkers and just block your opponent from being able to kill stuff. So anyway, the next one here is one of the most interesting cards they've probably printed ever, which is Remornia Living Blade. 7 mana epic minion. 7 mana legendary minion, quote unquote. It's like a minion and it's a weapon. So it's a 7 mana 4/10 rush. After this attacks, you equip the weapon. So the way it works is you will rush this into something. Say that it hits a 3/4. You rush this into a 3/4. The 3/4 dies. This goes to a 4/7. But then you have a 4/7 weapon equipped. and then you can immediately swing that weapon. You can swing it into face if you want. You can swing it wherever you want. Then you have a 4/6 weapon, and then you have a 4/6 minion on board. So then you could theoretically rush this into something else, and then the same thing. You have a 4 whatever durability weapon, which you could then put into a minion or put into the opponent's face again, and then you have a rush. So this can do a lot the turn that you play it, including a lot of face damage if your opponent has a lot of small minions on board. But also, if you just play this on typical turn, like maybe you just deal 8 damage to the board or something, and you have like, I don't know, a 4/6 weapon, a 4/6 minion left over. If they don't kill it, then it can go face, and then you attack face with the weapon again, and then you trade it off, and then you go face again. Like there's a lot of, this is a serious threat at just like straight up ending the game just off of face damage if your opponent has a lot of small minions and they can't kill it. And even the turn you play it, it can deal a lot of face damage. So it seems very strong. And it's also, you know, a good pseudo board clear. I think it's stronger as just a way to deal a lot of a threat of a lot of face damage, really, compared to just like being a board clear. It's not a great board clear. You're dealing 4 damage to a lot of things, but 7 mana, you know, it's like worse than Flame Strike, I think. But it can kill bigger things too. If you're willing to take a lot of face damage, you can, like, you know, use it on an 8/8 and stuff. So it's pretty good. If you do have ways to buff it, yeah, it can also be very good. But yeah, it's a very good card. I don't think it's like the best card ever, but it's very good. It's always going to be useful, right? Unless you're, I guess, like, even if you're not willing to take damage, you can always just still kill things off with it. Just use the thing towards the face and then just kill minions off. So like, it's never going to be bad. It's always going to be very good. And the last card, I think, is this the last card here? Oh, it's not quite the last card. This is Decimator Olgra. 6 mana, 3/7. Battlecry, gain +1/+1 for each damaged minion, then attack all enemies. So critical things to note, that's each damaged minion. That could be allies or enemies. And then also, attacks all enemies means it goes face. So basically this is like a kind of weird, cheaper version of Trench Stalker. Trench Stalker is a 9 mana 8/9 that hits 3 things. This is a lot cheaper. Potentially could be bigger. Usually it's probably not going to be that much bigger though. But it's pretty reasonable to expect you can get like 1 or 2 buffs out of this. And if you get like 1 or 2 buffs, like you get 2 buffs, it's already a 5/9. It's going to probably trade pretty well. There'd be a risk that it might die before it gets to kill whatever you want to kill, maybe if you're really far behind. Usually, I mean, it's going to be pretty good. It's a little hard to predict just because, like, you might not be able to have a whole bunch of... Getting a bunch of damage minions on the board is not a trivially easy condition to hit, but even in its, like, not great case, it's not terrible. So it's going to be sometimes extremely good, but usually just... And I mean, if you're getting, like, yeah, just like even getting a couple buffs, I think is very good. So it's a good card. Yeah, it punishes you directly for value trading. Kind of funny, but it's a legendary. You won't think about it, and it'll be interesting when it happens. And your opponent's gonna have 1 poison against this, and then you're gonna cry. But and then I believe this is the last card to review here. It is Sanguine Depths. This is a funny one to end on because this is 1 mana, 3 durability. Location card here. Deal 1 damage to a minion, give it +1 attack. So compared to, like, I mean, having like it isn't a non-ping class, right? So you can, well, I guess you can use it to trigger your Olgra, right? But also it's only 3 pings for 1 damage, which makes it like quite a bit underwhelming compared to a lot of the other location cards potentially, but it's a ping and a non-ping class. Huge downside is that you can only use it every other turn. So, you know, if you play this on turn 1, even if you kill off a bubbler or something, they might play another bubbler, then you can't kill it immediately. This could be very annoying. But, yeah, it's going to do things you want to do. So it's a pretty good card. Just having pings in Warrior is nice, because sometimes you just don't have access to pings, right? But it's not super high impact compared to a lot of the other Warrior cards. And I guess, like, the other thing is compared to like a 1/3 weapon, you know, there's like 1/4 weapons that were like decent cards, but the downside of the 1/4 weapon would be that you take all that damage, where with this you don't. But yeah, overall, I mean, it's an okay card. So these, I guess the warrior sets, the legendaries are very good epic, but these are, I guess their good cards are, well, this is a common, so yeah, that's going to be terrifying. I guess overall, a pretty good set for warrior here. Most of the good cards are high rarity, but pretty good. But that is it for warrior, and that is it for the last card review here. So thanks a lot, everyone, for hanging out here on Twitch, but also on YouTube if you're watching this there. Thanks a lot for hanging out. We'll see you guys in the next one, which I guess is not the next one of these, but the next run video or whatever it is. I have some 12-win runs to edit as well. I better get those out before the expansion. And we still have like 2 weeks, so I'll do that. But yeah. Anyway, goodbye, YouTube. Bye-bye. Like, subscribe, comment, by the way.